October 8, 2025, the South China Sea, a critical nexus where trillions in global trade intertwine with the deepest geopolitical aspirations, stood on the brink of conflict. An atmosphere heavy with uncertainty hung over these strategically vital waters. Emerging from the morning mist, a modern Chinese Type 052D class destroyer, renowned for its advanced anti-aircraft defense capabilities and guided missiles, cut through the waves with unwavering determination. Its bow, meticulously designed for maximum hydrodynamic efficiency, sliced the ocean like a sharp blade, leaving a foamy wake in its path. Overhead, a squadron of J-15 flying Shark fighters, multi-role combat aircraft designed to operate from aircraft carriers, roared through the skies, their jet engines emitting a deafening sound that heralded the imminent confrontation. Simultaneously, somewhere beneath the surface, invisible to the eye and most detection systems, a Chinese submarine stealthily lurked, moving with the discretion of a cunning predator, strategically positioning itself for a surprise attack. Beijing's intention was crystal clear and audacious: to encircle, intimidate, and ultimately demoralize the powerful United States Navy in the most disputed and economically crucial waters on the planet. This act of defiance was not merely a display of might, but a declaration of sovereignty and an explicit attempt to redefine the regional and global order. However, what the Chinese forces could not perceive was infinitely more dangerous and decisive than what was visible to them. Beneath the turquoise waters, an invisible hunter awaited, a U.S. Navy Virginia-class attack submarine, operating with absolute stealth, patient and lethal. Its presence was a jealously guarded secret, a hidden ace capable of turning the tide of events at any moment. A misstep by either side and the delicate balance of power in the region would be irremediably compromised, transforming a calculated provocation into a catastrophe of unimaginable proportions with global repercussions. This scenario did not merely represent a clash of steel and cutting-edge military technology, but a true duel of wills, strategies, and conceptions of power. The question hanging in the air was simple, yet laden with significance. Would America, known for its resolute stance, blink under pressure? Or would it reveal the silent and overwhelming truth of unparalleled might, a response capability that transcends a mere show of force? Don't just be a passive observer of this gripping narrative. Dive deeper into the discussion. Like this video, subscribe to our channel for even more detailed analyses. And, most importantly, share your insights and theories in the comments below. We genuinely want to know your opinion on this complex geopolitical landscape and its potential future ramifications. The morning of November 15, 2025, began, seemingly, like many others aboard the USS Leyte Gulf, a Ticonderoga-class guided missile cruiser, a bastion of American naval technology. Inside its robust steel walls, the constant hum of state-of-the-art electronic equipment harmoniously blended with the measured and professional rhythm of sailors at their posts, each performing their vital function with military precision. Outside, the tropical sun of the South China Sea beat down mercilessly, its intense and humid heat mitigated only by the continuously circulating air conditioning on the ship's bridge, keeping the crew alert and comfortable. For the experienced crew of the Leyte Gulf, this was supposed to be another routine freedom of navigation patrol, a mission that, in essence, consisted of 99% tedious monotony and 1% pure terror, the unpredictability inherent in operations in contested waters. However, that 1% of terror had just manifested abruptly and undeniably. On the long-range radar, an unexpected contact emerged, with a precise bearing of 80 and a distance of 23 nautical miles. The voice of the young operations officer, though firm and well-trained, contained a tone of controlled urgency as he reported. Sierra 1 identified Luoyang III class destroyer, Type 052D. The identification confirmed the presence of one of the most modern and capable warships of the People's Liberation Army Navy. Initially, the presence of the Chinese ship seemed routine, a common encounter in these international waters, but frequently patrolled by both powers. Indeed, encounters with Chinese warships were a frequent occurrence, part of the intricate geopolitical dance in the region. However, within a few minutes, the fragile tranquility was dramatically shattered. The Chinese destroyer abruptly accelerated, displaying impressive maneuverability, leaping from a cruising speed of 16 knots to a remarkable 29 knots in less than 90 seconds. Its vector line, projected on the tactical display, directly intercepted the bow of the Leyte Gulf, establishing a collision course with a closest point of approach, CPA, of 0. On the tactical display, the red line representing the Chinese ship glowed intensely, like an unmistakable warning, a harbinger of imminent danger. At this speed and trajectory, the vessels were on a collision course to meet in just 14 minutes. Impact seemed inevitable, a collision with potentially catastrophic consequences. It became evident that this was not a mere navigation accident. It was a calculated and deliberate maneuver, a direct order emanating from Beijing's high command. It was a test of resilience, a dilemma imposed on the American crew: alter course and be perceived as weak, yielding to pressure or hold firm and risk a naval catastrophe with international repercussions. It was not just a tactical naval play, it was a geopolitical message of great weight, intended to be heard by capitals across the globe. If the Leyte Gulf retreated, it would grant Beijing a symbolic victory of immense propaganda value, strengthening the Chinese narrative of regional hegemony. If, on the other hand, it remained unyielding, the world could be a single miscalculation away from a disaster that could precipitate a large-scale conflict. In all this time, the South China Sea, a vital artery for global trade moving $3.7 trillion annually, and a vast repository of unexplored energy, with extensive oil and natural gas reserves, was at stake. The stage was set for a clash of epic proportions. The question was no longer if. The standoff would escalate into open conflict, but how far this escalation could go, and what its global ramifications would be. What began as a reckless and provocative naval maneuver was now metamorphosing into a confrontation of wills across all dimensions, involving not only military assets, but also the reputation and credibility of two of the world's greatest powers. On the bridge of the USS Leyte Gulf, the red vector line, incessantly pulsing on the tactical display, narrated its own story of defiance and imminent danger. It was undeniable that China had no intention of backing down from its aggressive stance. However, Washington, anticipating such provocations and escalation scenarios, had engineered a robust and multifaceted response. And when Beijing chose to intensify the tension, America responded in kind, not with impetuous and disproportionate aggression, but with a meticulous and calculated orchestration of power and deterrence. From an imposing altitude of 27,000 feet, an E-2D Advanced Hawkeye, an airborne early warning and control aircraft, swept the immense battle space with its state-of-the-art radar, covering a 360-degree area with unparalleled precision. The calm and professional voice of the flight controller delivered the crucial update. J-15 Flying Shark fighters had been launched en masse from the deck of the Chinese aircraft carrier Shandong. Nearly a dozen luminous dots, representing enemy aircraft, lit up on the Hawkeye's scope, and others followed in successive waves, indicating a considerable approaching air force. To the untrained eye, this massive demonstration of air power was, undoubtedly, an intimidating spectacle. However, to the experienced eyes of American military personnel, it was a familiar pattern, the well-known prelude to a campaign of psychological and tactical pressure. To deepen your understanding of the capabilities and doctrine behind aircraft carrier operations, we invite you to watch our exclusive documentary, on the history and future of aircraft carrier strike groups. The link is conveniently available in the description. Almost simultaneously, the sonar technicians aboard the Leyte Gulf, trained to discern the most subtle sounds in the oceanic depths, stiffened at their posts. A low-frequency growl, unmistakable and menacing, echoed in their headphones. Contact Victor 1, Type 0329, submarine, diesel-electric, bearing 140. The identification revealed the presence of a Chinese submarine, known to be audible but dangerous enough to significantly complicate the tactical picture. Beijing was, in fact, orchestrating a coordinated encirclement, a pincer strategy, a destroyer ahead, fighters above, and a submarine below. A three-pronged demonstration designed to corner the American cruiser and, by extension, the entire U.S. Navy strike group. It was a clear attempt to overwhelm American defenses and force a retreat or an unfavorable response. However, the United States was more than prepared for layered threats, having invested substantially in integrated defense systems and asymmetric warfare strategies. At Oro 9:45, the electromagnetic catapults of the USS John F. Kennedy, the newest and most advanced aircraft carrier in the American fleet, roared to life with a deafening cry of stored energy, a testament to cutting-edge naval engineering. Deck crews, wearing color-coded vests indicating their specific roles, moved in a precise and efficient choreography, a dance rehearsed over years of rigorous training. Yellow shirts signaled aircraft readiness, green shirts armed missiles and bombs, and red shirts locked weapons with millimeter precision. With a thunderous roar that echoed for miles, the first FA-18EF Super Hornet, a multi-role fighter bomber, was hurled into the sky, propelled by the force of the catapult. It was quickly followed by another, and then another, in an uninterrupted succession. Within minutes, the airspace above the aircraft carrier swarmed with American steel, an overwhelming demonstration of air power. But this was not the Navy of 2005. America's strategic repertoire now included cutting-edge assets that China had not yet encountered at sea, representing a substantial technological leap. Silently gliding from the deck came the MQ-25 Stingray, an unmanned aerial refueler, an innovation that would revolutionize naval air operations. Its crucial mission: to extend the flight autonomy of the Hornets, allowing them to patrol longer, strike more distant targets, and, decisively, deny Beijing the luxury of time and space to maneuver. Technological innovation is the pillar of military superiority. To explore how artificial intelligence is reshaping modern warfare, click on the card above and watch our exclusive special. Minutes later, two F-35C Lightning II stealth fighters, fifth-generation aircraft with advanced stealth capabilities, followed suit. Their angular structures and radar-absorbing surfaces allowed them to absorb enemy radar waves, making them virtually undetectable as they vanished from Chinese screens. For operators aboard the Shandong, the aerial landscape began to disintegrate into a cacophony of conflicting information. Too many echoes, too many blind spots, rendering the tactical picture unintelligible. Then came the invisible and devastating barrage. EA-18G Growlers, specialized electronic warfare aircraft, activated their state-of-the-art electronic warfare suites, flooding enemy radars with a torrent of phantom signatures and electronic interference. To Chinese operators, a dozen Hornets looked like 50, an overwhelming and illusory force. F-35s appeared and disappeared, reappearing miles away in a matter of seconds, creating unprecedented chaos. The tactical panel in the Shandong's Combat Information Center, CIC, flickered with ghostly images, targets that did not exist but consumed precious resources and attention. Targets everywhere, targets nowhere, a complete informational paralysis. And yet, the Leyte Gulf maintained its unaltered course, a fortress of stability amidst the electronic storm. Its Aegis combat system, one of the most advanced in the world, silently tracked every blip, every lock, every movement, maintaining impeccable situational awareness. The VLS, vertical launch system, cells remained cold. The Harpoon missiles designed for anti-ship attacks remained dormant. This was not a containment born of fear or hesitation, but of unwavering confidence. The kind of confidence that comes from carrying dual-capable SM-6 missiles, capable of shooting down aircraft or warships at distances that China simply could not match. A decisive technological advantage. By 0958, nearly 58 American aircraft had taken to the skies, forming an impenetrable wall of steel and electrons that dwarfed the Chinese J-15s, which desperately fought for an advantageous position. And beneath it all, the discreet and spectral presence of a Virginia-class submarine maneuvered undetected, lurking a latent and undetectable threat. And for the first time that morning, the balance of power unequivocally shifted in favor of the United States. Beijing sought a test of nerves, a demonstration of its growing influence. What it received was irrefutable proof that American patience was not synonymous with weakness, but rather a weapon sharpened by overwhelming and technologically superior capability. The trap had not yet been sprung, but its jaws were closing inexorably. By late morning on November 15, 2025, the standoff in the South China Sea had escalated into something far grander and more dangerous than either side had initially anticipated. What began as a single reckless and provocative maneuver was now unfolding into a high-intensity confrontation that captured the attention of all admirals and military strategists in the Pacific and beyond. The South China Sea, shimmering and deceptively calm on its surface, had metamorphosed into a geopolitical chessboard of epic proportions, where every tactical and strategic move carried the weight of a potential catastrophe, with the risk of triggering a regional or even global conflict. Above, condensation trails, left by combat jets, scarred the blue sky in white streaks, as nearly 58 American aircraft patrolled in compact and disciplined formations. Among them, FA-18E F Super Hornets, bristling with a vast array of armaments ready for combat. EA-18G Growlers hummed with a constant electronic threat, their electronic warfare capabilities neutralizing enemy defenses. And F-35C Lightning IIs, with their stealth capability, slipped in and out of radar invisibility, confusing and frustrating Chinese detection systems. Below, the guided missile cruiser, USS Leyte Gulf, proceeded at a constant speed, a floating fortress, its Aegis system silently mapping the vast battle space in real time, maintaining complete situational awareness. And on the horizon, imposing and majestic like an island of steel, stood the colossal USS John F. Kennedy, its flight deck a bustling hive of activity, launching more aerial assets into the air with each passing minute, reinforcing American air supremacy. China had intensified the situation, and now, in an even bolder act of audacity, had gone beyond a simple provocation. Near 0958, deafening alarms blared on the John F. Kennedy, indicating an imminent threat. A Chinese Type 052D destroyer had locked its fire control radar directly onto the aircraft carrier, an act of aggression that, in naval terminology, represented the final phase before pulling the trigger and initiating an attack. Inside the John F. Kennedy's Combat Information Center, CIC, trained fingers hovered over consoles, prepared to unleash salvos of SM-6 interceptors, Harpoon missiles, and defensive decoys at a single word of command. Young sailors, many on their first combat mission, felt their throats tighten, fear and adrenaline coursing through their veins. No training exercise, however realistic, had prepared them to face the imminence of a real adversary's hostile intent. But the John F. Kennedy captain's reaction was not panic or hesitation. It was a demonstration of unwavering composure and exemplary leadership. His voice, measured, cold, and authoritative, cut through the tension in the room. Maintain posture. Hold fire. Restraint at this crucial moment was not an indication of weakness or indecision. It was, in fact, a weapon in itself, a manifestation of strategic strength and tactical discipline. Washington deeply understood that the primary objective was not merely to survive the next 5 minutes of tension, but to shape the narrative that would echo for decades in the annals of geopolitical history. If America reacted precipitously, Beijing would capitalize, portraying it as the impulsive aggressor. But if America remained unyielding and firm under the most extreme provocation, then the message conveyed would be devastating in its simplicity and impact. We fear absolutely nothing you bring to the table. This demonstration of serenity under pressure, combined with superior military capability, constitutes a fundamental pillar of U.S. military doctrine. To deepen your knowledge of how psychology and deterrence are employed in contemporary confrontations, we invite you to explore our exclusive video on psychological warfare and the art of deterrence. The direct link to this content is conveniently located in the description below. At 10:05, the sea itself, which until then seemed complicit in the Chinese strategy, unmasked Beijing's illusion of control. Just 9 nautical miles from the aircraft carrier Shandong, the water erupted in a violent and unexpected maelstrom. Slowly, with deliberate and almost theatrical grace, the angular and unmistakable sail of a Virginia-class attack submarine emerged. Cascades of seawater streamed from its stealthy hull as it surfaced, dramatically revealing its presence. For the Chinese admiral on the Shandong's bridge, his high-powered binoculars confirmed what his electronic instruments, however advanced, had failed to detect. The Americans had been there all along, a ghostly and lethal presence, lurking near their most valuable asset, the aircraft carrier, invisible and patiently. At this critical distance, the Virginia submarine's heavy Mk-48 torpedoes were not mere potential threats. They were guaranteed death sentences. Each of these torpedoes carried enough explosive force to break the keel and sink even the largest aircraft carrier, relegating it to the abyss in a matter of minutes. The psychological impact of this revelation was immediate and overwhelming. Chinese radar operators, who moments before exuded arrogant confidence, now exchanged anxious and apprehensive glances, bravado replaced by fear. Pilots circling in their J-15 Flying Sharks suddenly felt exposed and vulnerable, realizing with a chill that the hunter they had never seen had been beneath their feet all along. What had been an intimidating display of Chinese force crumbled in a moment of profound existential vulnerability, exposing the fragility of their position. And America, with its orchestration of power, had not yet concluded its demonstration. Far above, the unmistakable and futuristic silhouette of a B-21 Raider stealth bomber, the latest crown jewel of the U.S. Air Force, appeared on long-range sensors. It did not dive to attack, nor did it signal any immediate hostile intent. But its mere presence in the airspace was enough to convey a clear and unequivocal message. Everyone in Beijing's chain of command knew exactly what the Raiders' emergence meant. Long-range precision firepower, capable of obliterating fortified island bases and entire coastal assets in a single mission, with total impunity. The threat, therefore, was not limited to the maritime domain. It extended across the entire theater of operations, encompassing land, sea, and air. This was not a limited tactical encirclement. It was a strategic checkmate, a final move that nullified all of the adversary's options. Within minutes, the geopolitical narrative completely inverted. The aggressive destroyer maneuver, the dangerous J-15 overflights, and even the noisy pursuit of the Chinese diesel-electric submarine all paled and became insignificant in the face of the undeniable reality that China's most valuable aircraft carrier was now within reach of a predator it never detected. A catastrophic failure of intelligence and capability. On the American side, calm and professionalism reigned supreme. The Leyte Gulf continued its patrol unaltered, an image of resilience. The John F. Kennedy launched aircraft at an incessant pace, a wall of steel and noise that underscored America's global reach and power projection capability. And the Virginia-class submarine surfaced just long enough to deliver its clear message, before silently slipping back into the depths, a constant reminder that it could reappear anywhere, anytime, keeping the adversary in a continuous state of alert and uncertainty. For Beijing, initial bravado transmuted into paralyzing fear. The original intention to intimidate the U.S. Navy had failed overwhelmingly, resulting in a public and strategic humiliation. Chinese commanders, who believed they were orchestrating a demonstration of Chinese dominance in the South China Sea, now found themselves with the exact opposite, a public and undeniable display of American mastery and superiority. At 1640, the final order emanated from Beijing, with a chilling finality that left no room for doubt. Exercise concluded. Disengage immediately. One by one, the Chinese assets withdrew, their maneuvers now tinged with retreat and defeat. The Type 052D destroyer reduced speed and altered course, abandoning its aggressive trajectory. The Type 039 submarine retreated to the depths, seeking refuge. The Shandong turned around, its J-15s hastily recovered to the deck, the air-power demonstration undone. The scenario that had been prepared for a dramatic escalation dissolved into a humiliating retreat. And so, the turning point arrived not with a shot or an explosion, but with strategic silence wielded as the ultimate weapon. The South China Sea belonged, at that crucial moment, not to the nation that shouted loudest or uttered the greatest threats, but to the one that proved, irrefutably, that it could neutralize the adversary without firing a single shot. The confrontation of November 15, 2025, ended without a missile launched, without a torpedo fired, without a single life lost in direct combat. However, in strategic circles from Washington to Beijing, the echoes of this silent confrontation were deafening and resonated intensely. What unfolded in the South China Sea was not merely a clash of steel and technology, but a profound revelation of geopolitical truths that will shape international relations and military strategies for many years to come. For Beijing, the lesson was severe and unforgettable. Every escalation on its part, from the aggressive destroyer maneuver to the fire control radar lock, was met not with the impulsive reaction they expected, but with a calculated, multifaceted, and undeniable demonstration of superior capability across multiple layers, a technological and tactical supremacy they simply could not match. This event serves as a fascinating case study on the relevance of stealth technology, submarine warfare, and electronic warfare in the contemporary era. If you have a particular interest in military technology and its strategic applications, we have a complete playlist dedicated to analyzing the world's most advanced equipment, from nuclear submarines to fifth-generation fighters. Be sure to check it out to deepen your knowledge and understand the nuances of modern warfare. The link to the playlist is available in the description. The incident of November 15, 2025, in the South China Sea transcended mere military confrontation to consolidate itself as a landmark in deterrence diplomacy. The American strategy of demonstrating its capability without the need to employ it proved devastatingly effective. By revealing its cards in a controlled manner, the Virginia-class submarine, the B-21 Raider bomber, the electronic warfare of the Growlers, the U.S. not only neutralized the immediate threat, but also conveyed a powerful message about the depth of its capabilities, many of which remain classified and unknown. For China, the event was an abrupt awakening. Confidence in its growing military strength was shaken by the realization that a significant technological and strategic gap still existed with respect to the United States, especially in critical domains such as anti-submarine warfare and stealth operations. The humiliation of having its most valuable naval asset, the aircraft carrier Shandong, exposed and vulnerable, will likely lead to an internal re-evaluation of its military doctrines and an even greater investment in research and development to mitigate this deficiency. In the long term, this could catalyze the technological arms race in the Indo-Pacific region, with both sides seeking the next disruptive advantage. The incident also underscored the crucial importance of American alliances in the region. The U.S.'s ability to project power so decisively relies on a network of bases and cooperation agreements with nations such as Japan, South Korea, the Philippines, and Australia. The demonstration of force in the South China Sea served not only to deter China, but also to reassure these allies, reaffirming American commitment to regional security and stability. The message to neighboring nations was unequivocal. America persists as a reliable and competent security partner, willing to defend freedom of navigation and the rules-based order. Nevertheless, the serenity that followed the confrontation is tenuous. China, wounded in its pride and more aware of its vulnerabilities, will likely become more cautious, but also more resolute. Chinese nationalism, a pillar of legitimacy for the Communist Party, may demand a future response to restore the country's image of vigor. The risk of a subsequent miscalculation remains dangerously high. The South China Sea will continue to be a powder keg, a flashpoint where the aspirations of a rising power collide with the interests of an established superpower. The confrontation of November 15th did not mark the epilogue of the story, but perhaps the prelude to a new and riskier phase in the Sino-American rivalry. The world watches, holding its breath, waiting to see what the next move will be in this grand geopolitical chessboard. What do you think the future holds for the South China Sea? Will China retreat or double down? Leave your prediction in the comments, and let's discuss the possible trajectories of what is one of the greatest geopolitical challenges of our era. Your perspective is fundamental to enriching this dialectic. Thank you for watching, and until the next analysis.